The Brooklyn Nets are at odds of plus 70,000 to win the NBA championship and at plus 30,000 to win the Eastern Conference. The Brooklyn Nets are coming off another season in which they did just enough to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, but at no point were they regarded as a team that would go any further than that. Now they look like a team in transition that could have a very difficult time just getting back to the postseason at all. The Nets were finally able to get Deron Williams' contract off the books, but after a relatively quiet offseason, the expectations for this team are not very high. Brooklyn will once again be built around Brook Lopez, Joe Johnson, and Thaddeus Young, but it wouldn't be a surprise at all if they struggle early on. After underachieving for years, the Nets found themselves in unfamiliar territory this offseason when they were able to finally trade Williams. Brooklyn opted not to chase any free agents with Johnson and Lopez on the books for a lot of money, and now they enter this year with a lot of uncertainty. Bargnani was somewhat of an underrated pick as a capable offensive center that can provide some scoring off the bench, and the Nets took McCullough with the 29th pick of the first round of the NBA draft. But the lack of big-name additions, combined with the loss of Williams, leaves little room to expect this team to improve this season. It's hard to find strengths in this group, but they do have a strong veteran presence led by quality big men in Lopez, Young, Bargnani, McCullough, and Thomas Robinson. The Nets are a team in transition with some quality pieces in place. However, it's fairly clear to everyone that this isn't a contender of any sort. Lopez and Young are probably the only players on this team that would start for another NBA franchise. Beyond that, they are not particularly deep or talented, and after finishing 8th in the Eastern Conference last season, they will face an uphill climb getting back to the postseason again this season. The most glaring weaknesses for this team is the lack of true superstar leaders, as Johnson's play has tailed off. He has gotten older and Lopez will never be a true star that can carry the team despite being an excellent center. Factor in the lack of outside shooting and it's clear that this team will rely heavily on its big men. Losing Williams and Teletovic will have an obvious impact on the overall three-point shooting ability. And with opposing teams clogging the paint and forcing shots from the outside, this team will really struggle without a pure scorer that can put up big numbers on the outside. The Nets are a team in transition and there isn't much reason to buy into their stock as a contender in the Eastern Conference this season. Brooklyn still has some decent talent following a relatively rough offseason, but Johnson is getting older and Lopez isn't talented enough to carry a playoff team on his own. The combination of the Nets' decline and the potential rise of some of the other teams in the Eastern Conference, including the Miami Heat, Indiana Pacers, New York Knicks, and Detroit Pistons, could mean the best futures bet for Brooklyn could be to fade their regular season wins total. For more Brooklyn Nets betting information and statistics, check out the Bang the Book Betting Center. And don't forget that the Bang the Book Betting Center is your best resource for sports betting information before you make your weekly assault on the sports books.